Welcome to Breaking the Glass Ceiling podcast. We'll be talking about the challenges we all face when we pursue success. We'll talk to individuals and professionals who give us insight and practical advice on how they broke the glass ceiling and actually reached their goals. Our mission is to give you the tools and resources that help you overcome obstacles and unlock your full potential. Our episodes may get a little edgy, so you may want to buckle up and get ready to break those pesky glass ceilings. Now here's your host, a true professional ready to take the journey with you, Celeste Sierra.
We're back on Breaking the Glass Ceiling
Breaking
podcast.
the Glass Ceiling.
And I'm so excited to have my dear friend, Ray.
A good friend from childhood.
Yes. But you tell everyone that we've met like when we were like 4 or 5 or whatever. No, how old were you? Do you remember?
I was like 9 or 10, probably 12.
So then I must have been like 5.
Yeah, you were younger, dedefinitely younger.
No, that's not true. I am older than you. I think
You always looked younger.
I know.
Yeah.
I age well. No, but it's true. We used to go to church together.
We did.
When we were young and do the whole youth group. And
We did. Celeste always lit up the room. Even when she was young, she always had that great smile, would always light up the room. And that's never changed.
Did you used to play back then?
Yeah, that's where I started playing music.
Yeah.
That's where my career started.
Because that was obviously one of my first questions that I was going to ask you. Like, when did you find like that passion of music? And I know you've been doing it forever, but I couldn't remember. I'm like, was he playing back in the day? And I was like, I think he was.
I was. You were a part of my beginnings of my career. And you're still my friend now. So we were always going to be a part of each other's lives and your family. And I love your family very much. Your husband and your kids are amazing. But you were a part of the beginning of my seed before it even like blossomed out of the ground.
So how old were you when you started
I was 12.
playing? You were 12 when you started playing?
Yeah, 30 years ago.
Was that in school, or did your mom like take you to classes? How did that all get
started? That was back then. It was when they called when they would call it still junior high.
Oh, and junior high.
They call it middle school now for all the cool young people now. Yeah. They call it middle school, but back then they called it junior high. Mm-hmm. So I started in junior high. I remember when I was younger, a little bit younger than 12, I saw a man playing the saxophone at a church, and it made such an impact in my life that I remember making a mental note as a child that if I ever had the opportunity to learn that instrument, I would want to learn it. I remember that very vividly. Wow. And it wasn't until 7th grade in 1992 in Lomita at Fleming Middle School.
Okay, yeah, now you're aging us.
Fleming Middle School,
90s.
LA Unified, back when LA Unified used to offer music classes to their kids, and they had beginning bands for. I don't know if they do that now. I don't think so.
Wow.
But that's where it started, and you were there.
Yes.
You were there. I've made a career out of it. Can you believe that?
No, I can't.
I can't either.
I for sure was like, this kid, I don't know.
I can't either. Yeah, I've made a great career out of it. It took a long time for me to discover myself.
Right.
I didn't have any mentors. So I procrastinated a lot. I found my own doors. I found my own ways of being successful. And in the long run, I finally discovered how to make a product and an image out of myself.
Did you have anyone when you were a child that was like pushing you to do this? Any support? Like, I know you had your mom and she's always been supportive of you, but was there anyone that was like, you can do it whenever you wanted to give up? I mean, because you were a kid. So, or was it just you with like your own wanting to do this?
It was just my mom and myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had stepdads come in my life, and they didn't never encourage me. They never even motivated me to try, hey, keep going. Your instrument, you're sounding good. It was just my mom and myself and God. It's just my own like desire.
Right.
My own passion. I always knew that if you can master one thing in life, you'll eventually attract people to yourself.
Right.
Whether it's your business, what you're doing now, it's great. This is amazing.
Yeah.
All the people here behind the cameras, what they're doing is amazing. Their skill level,
so good at
they're
it
so
too.
good. Their quality is like, I feel like This is like amazing. This is super professional. Thank you guys. And but if you master those things, you make a product in the image of yourself, and people will come to you.
And that's one of the reasons, right, why I wanted to do this. Like, I didn't want to do this with the purpose of like, oh, let me get more business for my own business, right? My own benefit, but more to bring stories like yours and to talk about the struggles that we all faced, when we were young and growing up, and how we got to where we're at now. And like you're saying, like, you had really nobody pushing you forward except for your mom and God. And I'm sure that you went through a lot of struggles. I mean, even nowadays, like, even if we feel like somehow we're successful in any way, we still go through things.
Yes, we do. Right?
So what were the biggest challenges you faced when you first, this is one of my good questions too, when you first learned to play the sax?
One of the biggest challenges was equipment. I didn't even think about that. That's equipment. So true. LA Unified, even though it was LA Unified, back then they did provide instruments, but they weren't all in great shape.
Yeah, I can imagine.
They were dinged up, and they've been through some wars or something, So, equipment. I didn't have the right equipment. My mom was a single mom, and she worked at Bay Harbor Hospital, then at Kaiser. She retired as a housekeeper from that hospital there, and she would clean houses on the weekends in Palos Verdes. So I wouldn't really bug her for money. We didn't have a lot of money. Yeah. So just equipment, just the basic equipment is what I struggled the most in the beginning, and I think that's what people when they start off struggle the most. The right cameras, the right lighting system, the right makeup for you. Yeah, you look great, by the way.
I did my own makeup.
Yeah, wow. Lovely. So that's what I think is the toughest thing when you're starting.
Yeah. And then so moving forward, you how did you start your actual career, and how did you actually say, okay, this is what I'm going to do? Right? Because you did it as a child. We talked about that and your struggles, but then it gets to a point where like, okay, this is what's going to be paying my bills.
Yes. So
that's a big one, because musicians don't start with making a lot of money.
No.
Right.
No, I went through the desert for a long time. I don't recommend anybody being a musician. I really don't. It's great when you've made it, but the desert was very barren and very dry and very lonely, very lonely. And then very few supporters. I think I lost my mom there for a few moments, like even my best supporter, I lost her for a few moments because I remember in the beginning I would do gigs. I was a musician. I would do gigs. I would live in Riverside. I would go to LA, and I remember I would come home after 3, 4, or 5 hours of doing music out there, and I would come home with $25 in my pocket.
Right.
And in my family, my mom and my daughter, it would be like, hey,
this is what you're doing. You spend $25 going to LA, and you make $25.
Exactly. Right? So luckily, when I started doing music, I had a few little assets. I had some cars. I had a lot of cool like Volkswagen vintage cars, like Bugs and buses and stuff. But little by little, I had to sell those off to support this dream of mine.
Right.
And and it was those sacrifices that eventually led me to where I am today. But they were very dark times. There were times where I had to sell cans. Did you ever put gas in my car to get to a gig? I had to do it. Hey, I'm not gonna lie.
Did you ever feel like just like giving up? I mean, this is something that you love doing.
I knew this is what I knew, and this is there was a big point in my life where everything changed for the best. But this is what I knew. I knew I had the talent, and I knew eventually, or I had to. When I discovered myself, I was gonna have the charisma.
Right.
I didn't have charisma. I had talent, raw talent, amazing talent, but I had no charisma. Huh. It wasn't until 2020, when the world was flipped upside down, that I hadn't been hit ever. I had never lost a loved one very close to me, and it wasn't until that year that my world got flipped upside down. And until that moment, even until 2020, I had already been playing 20 something years, and I had talent, but I had no charisma. And it wasn't until that moment where I lost my father, and I felt my lowest of my lowest. This is like the lowest. I felt devastated. I didn't reconcile with my dad before he passed away.
Wow.
So, and he wasn't, he was older. He didn't understand what I was doing musically. He thought I was playing in bars, like really
Well,
just
you
like
kinda
the
were
worst
at
of the
times.
worst. Yeah.
But nice bars, though.
Yeah, but I play at nice bars, by the way, people. Very nice. Good food, drinks. I recommend them. But it wasn't until I did something I knew life can still be wonderful, but I had forgot how wonderful life can be. And it wasn't until I went skydiving.
Oh, wow.
I went skydiving. Yeah. And I had it wasn't until that moment where I landed on my feet that I felt everything changed.
Wow.
Everything.
You literally landed on your feet and then
Yes.
everything changed.
Completely. I felt like a astral plane. People call it astral plane. Like I felt like my soul projected out of my body for a couple of seconds. I felt it really did.
That's probably what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. But after that moment, there was a moment when I landed, I had a voidness. I have like this moment of emptiness where I can not hear anybody around me. And I had to tell the instructor to hold on. I felt a calmness and a peace that I had never felt before. And after that moment happened, my charisma changed.
Wow.
It was birth. I gave birth to it. That moment, from that moment on in August of 2020, my business changed. Everything skyrocketed.
Wow.
Everything. People started calling me, recalling me. Clients started becoming re-clients again.
Right.
Just every year after year, things started, and it's only been 220. I was doing good before that. I was doing great, but not until that moment where I feel like I have charisma. Like I feel like I can connect to people now. I feel like connecting with people before was very difficult. Now I can read people better in a good way. And my frequency and the vibe that I transmit to people, I feel people receive it better now.
Right.
And it's more palpable and it's more contagious in a good way. And that's the elements that I think make anybody successful. It's like you can be great at selling,
Right.
but if you're a jerk,
Right.
if you're a douchebag, if you're really just trying to pocket that money and that intention is deep seated in you,
You come from where
that's where it comes from. People will read you like a palm reader,
Right.
like a palm reader.
So you're saying your charisma changed in that moment or whatnot, but explain to me a little bit more about that, because I think I always thought you had charisma way before this happened. I didn't know this happened to you. So is it something that maybe was internal? Like, did you see yourself in a different light than maybe what others perceived you as? And maybe because you saw yourself differently, you weren't attracting the business? I don't know.
I feel like I hadn't discovered myself yet completely. I feel like until that moment, my charisma was not where it needed to be because, how can I explain it? I genuinely didn't love myself completely.
Right. Yeah.
And it wasn't until I genuinely loved myself and discovered how to love myself, it wasn't until that charisma gave birth. And I genuinely attracted people to me.
Yeah.
After that. Before it was like, they were attracted to my talent, but now after that, they're attracted to everything about me.
It wasn't just about the music, it was about you behind the sax.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's very profound. I never knew that. And
I was very shy, and I'm not as much now, but before I was super shy.
Really?
I was like fighting to kill that introvert in me, always fighting to kill that introvert in me, and it must be hard for you guys, like real estate people, and having to go to talk to people. It's not easy, It's not easy, but. Yeah. I feel like once you break that and find your niche, it's like you genuinely come off, to people. Your frequency comes out to people, and that frequency. Make sure you always, once you find a good frequency, like a good radio station, you preset that radio station. You preset them and you take care of those radio stations. Don't let people come and change your radio stations when they come into your life.
Wow.
Like when they come into your car and they want to change don't let them do that, because you take care of your frequency because it's good and it attracts the right type of things,
Did you have any role models in the music industry at all that you looked up to or that even helped you through your career?
youth pastors, music directors from church, Danny Trujillo when we were growing up, you know, people who were like super talented, but doing it for God, you know, like those people I admired because I always thought to myself, these guys can be making so much money out, you know, we call it secular music, you know, that's what they call it in the religious terms, you know. I took a lot of grief, you know. I was one of the first secular artists to leave my group of Christian artists. And so that was another thing I had to go through. It was very difficult. A lot of churches closed their doors because I started playing music in church. I was a gospel artist. Yeah. I was a church, you know, playing. I still love God, you know, and nothing's changed. Only that, you know, I've made this a business, you know. And then so people have, well, you will always have people fighting that and telling you, oh, you know, they have their projections of what their life, how your life should be in their eyes, but you gotta go forward. You believe in your talents, go forward, protect your frequency. Don't let people change your radio station, find your charisma, and then find yourself, love yourself.
More than anything.
Yeah. And then once you love yourself, people will love you.
And tell me, before you found yourself, let's call it that, how did you find opportunities, and what's the difference of then and now as far as like your business? Because I saw you the other day and you were just like passing out business cards. You're just like, no shame in the game. So now you're more open. So how does that change from then to now, finding those opportunities? Because you've always been very well connected too. Like, you know, people from before. So have you been able to bring those relationships onto your business now, or how are you now finding new opportunities in your business?
The way that the business has changed was that I'm able to connect now with my audience better. Whenever I get my clients, whenever I get hired, and I have a better relationship. It's more there's more technology involved now. I have contracts I send out to my clients. Everything's very professional. Invoice, excuse me. You know, so I got logos, you know, for my businesses. All those things I didn't have when I was starting out, and those things little by once you add all those very important elements into your business, you're going to retain more clients. You're going to once you learn how to connect with the clients, but you have all those tools around you, you're going to get recalls after recalls every single year. Trust me. And that's what happens.
Yes, I know. I wanted to ask, what has been the proudest moment or greatest achievement as a saxophonist so far?
Greatest moment, I got to play for he was the best artist of the year for the Latin Grammys, Vicente Garcia.
Oh, wow.
And I got to play at the Troubadour at the really nice venue in LA. And he had won 3 Latin Grammys that year: Best New Artist of the Year, Best Composition, and Best Bachata Song of the Year. Wow! And I got to play saxophone for his first ever. He hasn't been back yet. Ever concert in Los Angeles right after he had just won those Grammys. So that was super privileged to do that.
That is so cool.
I studied my butt off. As musicians, we get sheet music, you know, and the sheet music wasn't it. It was like it was written for a different instrument. It was written for a different scale instrument. So I had to pay somebody to scale it down and to find it in my range. So I didn't give up. I found the resources I needed to make sure I had the right resources to read this music, to read this. In your world would be to read this contract. If it's in Spanish, you have to find someone who translates into English or something, you know, but you never give up. And I remember I studied my butt off, and it paid off. It was one of the best concerts I ever had in my life. And it was a great experience. Amazing,
that is so amazing. That is, and then besides this one famous person, you know a lot of other famous people. So it's always so cool to see you doing a lot of different things with different people. What advice would you give someone who is just starting out on their own musical journey, right? So think about it when you were a little kid, and looking to make a career out of it. Although you already said don't do it. Yeah. But if there's there's people out there.
No, there's people.
My daughter loves. She's in band, and she absolutely loves it. Never in a million years I would have thought that my youngest was gonna love band, and she does the flute. It's
That's
just,
amazing.
I'm like, okay, but she likes it, and she went from choir. When she asked to be in choir, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, go ahead and do it. So she did it 1 year. And then this year, she's like, I want to try band. She did it. And she already told me, she's like, oh, I want to do band next year again for middle school. And I was like, sure. I've always think that, just music, kids putting, just being talented or not talented, but just like getting into music is a great thing for your mind and your brain.
Yes.
But so like, let's say she just decides that she wants to be a musician. I
My
would be like, no. But what would you say?
my greatest thing right now is this is the age of technology, of information, information technology. So we got YouTube.
Right.
She can learn any song. They got any song on the flute on YouTube that, imaginable, any pop song. So those are great tools there. You can learn. Don't, find a good teacher, a mentor. I wouldn't give up with that, because even though I didn't have one growing up,
Right.
but I've seen kids who have had mentors now, and I mentor so much. I have most of my musicians are all in their 20s.
Oh, wow.
I'm in my 40s, young 40s. That I got musicians in my 20s, and I mentor a lot of young musicians, and I have a good support retention rate when it comes to musicians, because in this world, a lot of people lose musicians, but I tend to pay my musicians more very well. You guys know that, because I believe in more of a team. This is a team.
Right.
I can't do this by myself.
Right.
I'm not. I can't be. I don't want to be greedy. I'm not gonna be greedy, because I reject those type of mentalities and thoughts. Because the more I take care of my team, the more they take care of me. They never call out sick. They're always there on time. So it's like an amazing feeling.
Right.
I would say that to your daughter is find a good teacher, a good mentor, and a good team.
Go on YouTube.
Yeah, you go on YouTube.
I mean, not YouTube. You said TikTok or YouTube? Either one.
Either
of those
one.
two.
Yeah, and then find her classmates. Find the one that's most serious about music. Tell them to hang out with that person.
She's probably one of the most serious ones.
Oh, that's good.
She's a good kid. How has your music? Oh, my thing just. How has your music evolved over time, and what do you think has been the biggest influence on that evolution?
My music has evolved now more over time. The way it's evolved is I'm able to connect people with people more. I'm able to feel the song, feel a note, and I feel like I can transmit my energy through that song, through that note now. I didn't really have that concept before. I feel like my level of consciousness before 220, and like I was splitting, it was really low before.
Yeah.
So I feel like now it's like a little higher. I really feel like everything I'm playing, it's like a vibe. It's really.
I gotta interrupt, because I think it's so true, because I've seen you play for many years, and I don't even know how long ago was this, but it was a long time ago. And I went to see you, and I mean, you've always been great, like you said, but I see you now, and it's like you feel the music. It's like weird.
It is weird.
And
yeah.
it's so much fun, and it is different.
But it's real. It's something
Yes.
it's not. It's palpable in the non-reality sense, but it is reality. It is reality that we transmit our vibes to people. We transmit our
100%.
frequencies. And if you're not loving what you're doing, people are going to know you're not
I was
loving
just
what
gonna
you're
say
doing.
that when
I
we're talking
love what
about-
I'm doing. I
Yeah.
completely love this. This is what I love. I'm very professional at what I'm doing. And every gig, the way I treat every gig is this way. I need to make a lasting, memorable impression. I need to connect with 2, 3, 4 people there.
Yeah.
Whether it's giving an old lady a lap dance that she's never had her whole entire life.
Oh, she's gonna call you back for sure.
Of course. Whether it's that lap dance that she's never had, but you make it memorable. You do something special. You do something, you connect with your eyes with people. You look at them, you smile with them. If they're crying, you cry with them. You do whatever song they want. You feel the moment. You feel you have to be all intuitive around what's going on always around you. And once you're genuine about your feelings, you can feel everyone else's feelings around you.
That was intense. It's so true, because I always talk about this too, you know, like you have to love what you're doing and don't do it for the money, because that's where the difference I think comes, right? When you have someone that's just doing it for the buck, it's a different come from than
I know a lot of musicians that
when
just
you're
do
doing
it
it from the heart, and because you're doing it for others, because you want to inspire others, you want to, you know, just give them a good feeling when it comes to music. So yeah, I totally agree with you. What are your future goals and aspirations as a musician, and how do you plan to keep on growing, even though we're getting old? But I'm sure you still want to like keep on going, and just keep on developing as an artist.
My goal is, from here on out, is to record and do more content.
Yes.
My philosophy on that is, don't die with the music still inside of you. Don't die. Yeah. Don't die with your abilities and your good-hearted, this is amazing what you're doing. Don't die with this inside of you. Keep moving forward, because when we're long gone in this world, when we're passed away, our content's going to be left.
Right.
Think about that.
What's your footprint going to be?
Exactly.
Right?
What is your footprint in this life going to be? In my life, what I want people to remember me is my music. I want people to be, I want my grandkids to be able to, you know, great grandkids to be able to, hopefully, you know, be able to look up, hey, let's look up great grandpa Ray's music on YouTube, you know, that's going to be the MySpace
cool.
of the future, you know, but, you know, and then people are going to be able to look up your grandkids, and your kids and your family members can look up your this amazing, information, like podcasts that you're doing, and they can be able to see us long beyond, you know, our existence. And right. I think that is the most important thing. That is the most important thing, is to leave content, leave your great vibe, because it's transparent in the cameras. It all transmits to the people that are watching. Hey, everybody.
I'm so excited to be here. No, but it is true. I was telling the guys earlier, I want to bring people that have a story to tell, right? That you're going to be able to give that artist that could listen to this, not now, you know, but maybe 5 years from now or whenever. Once we put this out, it'll be out in the world, and who knows what it could do to others, right? Or in what moment. But I want to bring on people that can talk about their stories, like your story, and inspired, right? And that's why I was telling them I want to bring all kinds of people, not just people in my industry, right? Because I don't want to keep it like this. Like there's so many, you know, kids we're talking about that they could want to be artists in the future. And so it was great that, you know, we connected and then you agreed to do this, because I want you to bring that inspiration, you know, for their future. So talking about that, what other nuggets can you throw out to the world about going for it? My whole thing is, again, breaking the glass ceiling, right? Because at one point or another, we've all had that barrier that slowed us down, that maybe made us think of like, we can move forward, we can do it, because we're only making $25 on this gig, right? But we still pushed through year after year for so many years now for you. I mean, I've been doing my thing for 27 years. You're right behind me on yours. So give us some nuggets, some advice, anything that you wanted to say and you haven't said, say it to them now.
Once I knew I can play the instrument, the saxophone, and my instrument, which your instrument might be different than mine. Once I knew I can play it, and I can do well at it, and I actually love doing it well, that is the moment where I decided I would never let this go. That's it. The people nowadays, they struggle with being successful because they never hold on to one thing. Like one thing and make it great. Like you have to hold on to one thing, whether it's, if you're good at fixing the car, that's great. Keep going at it, you know, like, you know, but, you know, sell houses, escrow, all that stuff too. But don't give up on those other great skills in your life. If you're good at painting, don't give up on that. I never gave up on my skill, my talent. And I remember that even though I knew that I didn't have the right connections. I was going through the learning and the starting phase of a business. I knew I was never going to give it up.
Wow.
That no matter if I didn't eat, if I could only eat cup of noodle ramen that day, I knew someday I was not going to eat ramen that day. I had a dream of what I wanted and how I wanted it. And I always knew this, that no matter how successful I become, and I'm doing great now, but I've learned this. You will never enjoy being successful as much as a journey that took you to get there.
Right.
So that struggle, that deepness of like everyone giving up on you and you're the only one that believes in yourself, that's deep. That builds your character. That builds who you are.
Yeah.
And that is why I never gave up, because I built something, my character. I built something with an instrument that I found that I can be really good at. So don't give up on your instrument.
That's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you so much. I don't know. Are you going to play something for us? I mean, you brought something. I don't know. But, well, thank you again so much for being here. It was very hard. Like, I felt it. Like, it's great to see you do so well. And I'm sure you're going to keep on coming to all of my events.
Of course. All the time. Support 100%.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, we'll have your information.
Yes.
But thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you, Celeste. Thank you. Mortgage
till the next
Financial
one,
Real
for
Estate
sure.
Architects.
Yeah.
Breaking the glass ceiling.
Thank you.
Cue the sound effects.
Thank you for joining us on Breaking the Glass Ceiling. We hope you feel empowered to break free from limitations that hold you back, so achieving your dreams is now possible. Don't forget to subscribe and be part of our inspiring conversations. But before we go, we want to remind you that you are capable of greatness, and by joining us next time, you can start shaking off that self-talk so you can move forward. That's one step closer to breaking the glass ceiling.